2, 1. And we are
Live.
live. Hello, everybody. This is Chris from the Stuart Buzz, along with...
And this is Kaylee from the Stuart Buzz and Psychic and the Genie.
Yes, we are from Psychic and the Genie as well.
Yes, as well.
We are here to talk about a couple of topics. One of them, I know Kaylee wanted to talk about politics, but I tried to get her.
Absolutely not.
I told her not to do that.
I don't know where he heard that from.
Well, a friend of mine told me.
Who?
I can't mention the names.
Yes, you can.
Jordan.
No.
He called me up and he said, you wanted to talk politics.
Didn't. Absolutely not.
He did.
No, he didn't.
Okay, so I decided that we should talk about the law of attraction.
No, I absolutely decided that.
You take the credit for everything.
You take the credit for everything.
No, what is this?
Oh, Wendy dropped that, I'm sure.
Wendy's always dropping this.
Wendy's always dropping.
Wendy watches these things.
Wendy, did you drop this, Wendy?
So anyway, we're talking about the law of attraction. Everybody that I had talked to, because I do the law of attraction, and everybody else.
Chris, what is the law of attraction?
It's the attraction of law.
Okay, and what's the attraction of law?
No, so what it is kind of retraining the brain. It's putting positive vibes, positive brings positive, negative brings negative. I always used to say, if you hang out with a bunch of drug addicts, you become one. If you hang out with a billionaire, you become one. You become a product of your environment.
What if you're an isolated drug addict?
I don't know.
You're just stuck in your negative thoughts all the time, right? So then you're creating a negative reality.
Unless you come to somebody like myself, and I change that negative reality into a positive one.
And how do you do that?
Well, we're going to go into that. So how do you advise people to think more positive than negative?
So I think the biggest thing is, well, even through my own experience, right? So the only way for me to help people is through my own experience and what worked for me, right? So I think for me, the biggest thing that worked is every negative thought that I have, I mirrored it with a positive thought. And when I did that, things really started to change for me. I feel like my subconscious started to get like retrained, like everything started changing. But it's also how I reacted to that positive thought or reacted to that negative thought. So if I had a negative thought and I reacted to it in my physical world, so for instance, if I was like, oh my gosh, my boyfriend is cheating on me. And then I would look over at my boyfriend and I'd be like, are you cheating on me? And I would bring it into my negative or into my reality. It would trickle out. It would manifest, right? So things would literally, negativity would surround me. It would just fill up my life. And that means that I'm attracting negative things, negative people to kind of mirror that as well.
So if you continue to say to your significant other, are you cheating on me? This is going to sound odd, but I have heard this numerous times. Then they end up saying, you know what? If you're
already thinking it,
and if you keep on accusing me of doing this, I might as well just do it. You know, I've heard that from some clients.
I've heard that too.
And I don't necessarily believe in that the way it should work, but I mean, you have insecurities, I have insecurities, yes, all that stuff, but I'm a lot older than you. And so Jordan, good-looking dude, right? He's like tattooing people, women, men. And yeah, he's probably, you know, being hit on.
Yeah, a lot.
I would think so. But does he think that you're being hit on as well?
Probably.
Is he okay with that?
I think he trusts me, so that's really what matters.
Do you trust him?
I do know, yeah. But for a long time, I went through that negative headspace where I had a hard time trusting anybody
Do you
from
remember when I was teasing you?
from my own traumas. Do you remember? Like, I experienced from my own traumas and my own things that I went through in my life, right? And then I would bring it into my new relationships. And then again, I would believe that it's there and it would manifest. And he never cheated on me, but like there was times where I was like, and I was so aware of it, but that I would be like, just to validate myself, I'd be like, are you, are you seeing anybody? Are you cheating on me? Are you doing these things? And he's just like, no, babies, like that's crazy. But still, like I was filled with so much negativity, and then I was calling in people who were like, I don't know, just like, you know.
I
Does that
I
make
see the
sense?
way he looks at you, by the way. So definitely, there's no way that that dude
He wouldn't have,
is.
yeah, no way. He's the
So
best.
he is, and just so everybody understands that there is absolutely zero relationship that's perfect. You're going to have fights. You're going to hate each other. You are. Even if you love the person, you're still going to hate them. And then you're going to love that person. Then you're going to hate them again. It doesn't get easier as you get older. You just have more practice.
Right.
So relationships are difficult. And my parents were married for 63 years.
Oh,
And
wow. That's a long time.
their relationship was not always wonderful, but they would still hold hands walking into Walmart until, they couldn't walk anymore.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lower the sound on that, raise the sound on this, raise the sound on that.
So when you do law of attraction classes, what are some techniques that you have people do?
Well, I give them this first. I give them this booklet, right? The first booklet is things that transmit into the universe. Like, for instance, I don't want to get a flat tire. You're putting into the universe as a possibility that you can get a flat tire.
Yeah.
So, like, why are you putting? I don't want to get fired. So you're putting into the universe there's a possibility you may get fired.
Do you think that it's because of right? So on a frequency scale, you have all the fear, shame, guilt, grief, right? Those are lower frequencies that can then transmute into you know what I mean? So like,
Transmute is a big word.
right. But what I mean by that is when you manifest something, right? You start off with a desire, right? Which is a lower frequency, am I right? Mm-hmm. You start off with a desire, but you have to release that desire in order for it to be transmuted into something positive.
But have you ever said, think of the first time that you had to stand up in front of a group of people and talk.
Oh yeah, I almost shit myself.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, oh my God, I don't think I can do this. Which is putting out into the universe there's a possibility that you can't do it.
Right.
Instead of saying, I got this.
So how do you change that around then? You just start to change your thought process, right?
It's a thought process.
And the way that you react to that thought, right?
Correct. So to me, like when I was doing TV, I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, I have to do readings in front of a camera. Now, I'm not talking about a little tiny camera. I'm talking about a big ass camera with a boom mic.
That's going on TV.
And a boom mic is ahead of me, and I got to sound like I'm intelligent, and I got to do a reading in front of this camera. What happens if I can't? Well, you can't do that.
Right. So is that where you start to take that negative thought and you mirror it with a positive, and then you react to the positive thought rather than the negative?
So all I did was just say, I can do it. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to nail this reading, and it's going to be great. Well, I did, and the producer was like, wow, that was really cool. And it, like, you know me, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing anyway. So what was cool about it is I got to watch it on like the TV on after it was edited and everything, and the lady was crying, and I was doing the reading, and so I forgot the camera was there. That's what you have to do, as you forget the audience is there. So what I'm getting to is the law of attraction works for everything. You can will yourself to be sick. You can will yourself to be well. You can say, oh, gee, I don't want to get fired, but why would you even put it out there as a possibility that you would get fired? It doesn't even make sense.
Right.
There's lots of people that do that.
So here's my question too, right? It's like you talk about, right, you still had that negative thought, right? So I think that's really important and really interesting because I feel like a lot of people are like, I can't just get rid of the negative thought, but I feel like that's not what you did. I feel like instead it's almost like you said something different in your reality, right? So like there's here and here, and I feel like our voice is how we kind of bring things to our reality and how things manifest, right?
I'm just wondering why, when I raise my volume, your volume goes up.
I don't know.
Well, anyway, do I sound okay? Is it all right?
Yeah, you sounded fine.
All right, so
But do you know what I mean? Is it's like it doesn't necessarily matter is if you have that negative thought. It's really how you really say it into your reality.
well, let's get to reality first. You are going to be negative.
Right. Okay,
Everybody's going to be negative.
okay, great.
It's
That's
what you do with that negative.
right.
Okay, so what I do is I have them write down on a piece of paper all their negative thoughts of the day on one side of the paper. Then they draw a line down the center of the paper and they write a positive to each one of those negatives. And I have them do that for a week straight until I see them again. And then they start to realize, well, this negative side isn't really that negative. And I told them, like, after the third class, you're going to think you're not getting anything out of this class. But on the fourth class, you're going to start to automatically start to turn the negatives into positives. And you're going to say, okay, so, oh, what happened at work today, or me getting stuck in traffic, that really isn't a negative. I just always thought it was a negative. The positive is it's giving me time for myself, and I can reflect on things while I'm sitting in traffic. So there's so many positives to that. Like people had said to me, why are you here? Your mother just died. I said, why wouldn't I be here? Well, your mother just died. I said, yeah, but my mother's dead. I mean, so I gave her a kiss. Now I'm coming back to work to help others. And they're like, yeah, but aren't you supposed to like sit there? Like, so everybody was crying around the house and everything like that. When I know my mother's in a much better place.
She's at peace now, yeah.
Right. So here
But
I
it's
am.
a different way of perception.
Well, I thought that since my mom's not there anymore, why would I be there? So, I mean, my dad doesn't show emotion all that much. He didn't show emotion. And nobody really needed me there. We had other family members that would stay there and do all that stuff. But I went back to work. Same thing when my dad died. I did the same thing. I went back to work. And
Yeah, and they came to work with you.
right. So like,
Yeah, she's right in front of me, actually.
why? That's right. They're right here. They're sitting right here.
Yeah, right here.
So why? So people say, oh, death is a negative thing. And when my father died, that was not a negative thing. My father wanted to die. He wanted to be with my mom. They were together since they're 14 years old. So I told my father, as long as everybody else told my father, and they did, hey, Dad, it's time for you to move on. It's time for you to go and visit Mom. And he finally did, but it took him 2 years to do so. And my father was dying well before my mother did. So when my father died, it was more of a celebration for me. And believe it or not, for my other family members, they probably just wouldn't admit it, and I do, it was a celebration because now my father is with my mom. And one thing I'll remember that my father said to me is, what happens if all this is not real? He said that to me. I said, Dad, you're going to go visit Mom. He goes, well, what happens if that's not true? I said, well, you know what your family does for a living. You know what I do for a living. And I'm telling you it's true. And he did it too. It's on his side of the family. So I just reminded him of that. He sort of was at peace at that as well. And that he was going to go visit my mom. Now, that's part of the law of attraction. I turned that what someone would perceive to be negative into a positive. I thought it was positive my father passed. It would be negative for my father to stay alive and suffer. It would have been negative if my mother was to stay alive and suffer. So I thought it was a positive that both of them passed because they would not want to live the way they were living. But it goes with anything. So you want to get a promotion in your job. Write down on a piece of paper why you would get a promotion on a job. And what are the reasons?
And you know what's crazy too? Did you know that that's actually how I manifested Jordan? Right? So when I was in one of like the worst parts of my life, and when I was in treatment, and they had me write down everything that I look for in a person. And let me tell you that that is a place where like you shouldn't be looking for anybody. But I think what they were trying to get at, right, is like, do we mirror those things that we're looking at? So what they had me do is they had me write down everything that I look for in a person. And I raised my hand and I was like, does it have to be just looks? Or does it have to be looks? They were like, everything. Absolutely everything, every little detail, and get down to the detail of what you're looking for. And I said, okay, so I wrote down everything I looked for. I said dark hair, blue eyes, outgoing, loyal, just like everything that drives it, tattoos, everything, right? And I sure, as they said, once, like, write down if you match that. Right? So they had me go on the other side. They had me put a line down the middle, like you said. And then on the other side, they had me write down if I matched those things. And as soon as I matched every one of those things, is when I called in Jordan.
That's when he was born.
Or
No, that's when he was born. That's when he was born in your life.
yeah, that's when he was born in my life. And so like isn't that super interesting? Is like that is so, it's so true. It's really, you can really get down to the itty bitty details of what you're looking for, but you have to be able to match that in order to kind of call that in. Do you know what I mean? So like, even like with gratitude, I feel like in order for me to call in anything that I wanted, I had to be grateful for what I already had.
That's
you know what
very
I
true.
mean? Like
Yes.
I had to be grateful for what I already had. If I was stuck in this miserable, I'm not moving forward, I'm not doing anything with my life, and I'm blah, 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 right?
But you're really not doing anything with life because you're not doing anything with your life.
Right.
Like you're manifesting that.
Right.
So you change it.
Right. You change it, and it's
So
a
when
really
I do
cool
my
thing.
readings, I tell people about that.
Yeah.
Well, do you see any love life? I said, no, I don't.
Right.
And that's because of you.
Right.
I read somebody today. Of course, I don't say any names, but I read somebody today. She says, well, am I ever going to have a love life again? And I said, well, according to this timeline, no. But that is because you're stopping it, because you don't trust, because you think everybody is the same. Each individual you should actually treat differently. Just because you had a bad experience here does not mean you're going to have a bad experience over here. This person, you cannot judge this person on this person's actions. That wouldn't be fair. So that's putting out the negativity. The negative brings more negative, and then you attract. I had one person literally say to me, I keep on attracting the same people. Well, you keep on looking for the same people. You keep on manifesting the same people. Step out of the box.
Right.
What do you want? Write down what you want.
I feel like it's also because if you ever noticed too, because I have a lot of readings like that too, where it's like people will kind of hop from one relationship to the next, and instead of like growing or working on themselves first, or at least in the process of while they're in a relationship with somebody else and they're growing. And so that's why I always let people know, like, it's like,
Love yourself
first. Because I feel like it all starts with a belief system, right? So if I tell you I love you, how are you going to be able to receive that if you don't believe it yourself? If I tell you you're beautiful or you're handsome, right? How are you going to be able to really receive that if you don't believe it, right? So I think it really adjusts with that too, right? So
if you don't love yourself, you can't really love others. First of all, love to me is a very strong word. So, like, everybody is like, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. You don't know me. You may be fond of me, you may like me, but you don't know me. Now, you know me. A selected few know me. I have pretty much zero friends. I have a couple thousand acquaintances.
same.
I do. It's my phrase. And to me, I'm good with that. I absolutely adore and love this one girl. I dream of Jeannie. And I got to tell you, that I wanted to manifest since high school.
Yeah.
I didn't have the guts to do it. I grew up in a very negative household, and if you want to bring it up that way, my mother was great. My father wasn't always that positive. I can't say it was a negative household. It was a household raised. My father was raised Italian. Everybody yelled at the dinner table, or like if you had a whole group of people, everybody was right, and So I had to change that, and I didn't really start changing that until my later years. And then I wanted to manifest things. I manifested a lot of things, but Jeannie actually brought a lot of that manifestation to light. And she just had this amazing gift to be able to look inside the window of the store that we have now and say, okay, let's do this. And I'm looking at her like, okay, we can do that, I guess. You sure? And she's like, yeah, we'll do this or this. Everything the way that store is kind of the way she manifested it. She is good at that. She always was good at that.
She is always so positive. She has such a positive outlook and mindset on how she lives her life. You know what I mean? Like, at least from what I've seen of, and I've known Jeannie for a really long time. Not really, really long, but like for the past, 3.5 years, and like, she's just
That's
amazing.
a long time in human years.
Yeah, she's just such an amazing, person.
So, if you think that you can't accomplish anything, or if you think that you can't accomplish something, then you won't. You won't accomplish it. But if you think that you can accomplish it, I had a girl that was young, and she was maybe 30, and she sat there and she said, well, I said, what's your purpose in life? Because I don't see anything here. She goes, I don't know my purpose in life. I said, well, you need to get your head out of your ass and actually think about a purpose in your life. What do you want to do? What is your passion? And she sat and thought, and I wasn't teaching her the law of attraction. I was reading her. And I can't tell you your passion. You have to come up with that passion. And for some reason, she couldn't come up with her own passion. And to me, Trying to get rid of the background noise.
I don't hear any background noise.
You don't hear that? Shh. Is it?
Huh?
Oh, Lord. So I think that as long as you're right there, you need to text anybody?
No.
So I think as long as you know that you can accomplish it, then you will. There's just no doubt in my mind, you will accomplish whatever you put your mind to. And I've seen you grow literally from an insecure card reader, and no joke, to a girl that is just so adorable. When she comes up to me and she goes, I did it. I said names. I did this. I did. And I'm like, yeah. And did you not think you can do that?
I really didn't. For the longest time, I really didn't think I could.
But again,
And you know what's interesting on the days? There's some days where I do feel still insecure, and those days I don't read as great as I would like to because my mindset is
you can't.
that when I go into it.
If you have a difficult client, then you're going to think that you can't do it.
Right. Immediately my whole being, but really, just knowing that like law of attraction isn't always gonna feel great either because you're getting outside your comfort zone, right? So uncomfortability is just growth.
Uncomfortability. Is it a real word?
Yeah.
It's a pretty good one. I like that.
It's just growth, right?
So,
Are you still messing with that thing?
yeah, I am actually. Why I hear, maybe it's the AC. I don't know. I really want to shut it off. But anyway, so before I do my readings, I am insecure. I'm nervous, I should say. And sometimes I still find myself stating, what happens if I can't do this today? What happens if I can't do it? I don't know. And I get nervous and I get anxiety before I do the reading. And then once I start the reading, I start rolling with no problem because I don't think when I read.
Right.
But if I used cards, to me, that anxiety would go away because I can blame the cards. Can you take that remote over there? It's a lot easier.
Feel it. Yeah, I got it.
It's a lot easier for you to get out of this than me. Wow, that is it. That's insane. I can hear the air. So, like, I can blame the cards. If I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Well, this is what the card said.
Well, when I read with with the cards, I bounce off of what I had already written down on pen and paper.
Right. And
So that's why I start off with just pen and paper, and then I incorporate the cards afterwards to
what
bring
about
in.
before the pen and paper? What happens when you did it before that even existed?
Oh, well, then it was just, you know what? It really wasn't as distinct. Like it wasn't very
In depth.
yeah, it was not in depth. Like I wasn't bringing up names or dates or times or anything like that. It was just like an overall like emotional how you're feeling.
I have people calling me on the phone and say, no, I would like Kaylee. When is Kaylee working? Actually, did you read Lindsay? That was Lindsay
No.
today? Because there was, that was Sunday. Next week, okay. But I have people calling for you and saying, I had this amazing reading with her. I would like to book with her again. And like, oh, no, she doesn't work here anymore. So then I take the reading. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. But I do. I have people requesting you because how accurate you are in the reading. Now, before that, I got to tell you, when you were reading the cards, to me, you were reading the cards. Now,
Absolutely.
you're reading the person. And I can read cards. It's very easy to read cards. because I don't really read the cards. I read the person.
It's much more scary
It's scary
in a
to
good way
you.
to read the person. It's not scary. It's actually,
What was up with that?
I don't know. Was that,
The air conditioning shut up before. What else was that?
was that,
It's quiet now.
it's actually not scary at all. You know, law of attraction, right?
Right. The law of attraction.
Not scary. It's actually, it's a gift.
But it could be scary, the law of attraction,
Yeah.
if you attract negativity. I know somebody, like people that believe in curses. So the law of attraction is all about that. Somebody says that you have a curse, right? Somebody put you a curse on you, or you have a curse. You take that curse, you run with that curse, you manifest that curse, you are that curse. But if you say to the person, you absolutely have no power over me, you can't give a curse to me, I'm better and stronger than you are.
We don't realize as human beings how much we give our power away.
But there are people that come into our store and say all that, and I
Yeah,
tell them
no,
it,
it's
and they're
true.
mad at me because I'm saying I
You
don't
don't believe
believe in
them.
it.
Yeah.
And no, that's not true.
Right.
Excuse me, but I lived it. Yes, you made it.
Well, it's even just like even the stones, right? The crystals. Like if somebody were to come up and they buy this crystal and they're like, "Oh, it's just a really cool stone," and you're like, "Okay, well it's this and that. It's used for this and that," and they're like, "No, I'm just buying it because it's a really cool crystal." It's not gonna work for them, right?
Right. So this crystal was broken. Some person may throw it out and say it's broken. It still has the same frequency. So,
Yeah.
for instance, I always compare this to, God forbid, you had to amputate a leg. Are you still Kaylee?
Yeah.
Right. So
We're all a little broken,
you still have, right. Yeah,
you
you
know?
still
We're all
have
a
the
little broken.
frequency. It's the still
It's
same
still in
quality.
us. It's still in there.
It may
Right?
not look the same, but
Right.
it actually is the same person or the same crystal.
Yeah.
Now, I manifest what the crystal is going to do for me, not the little tiny card that you see inside the store.
Intention.
So I set the intention what I want the crystal to do for me, and then therefore it does. Like Tiger's Eye always gives me strength. Amethyst would
Tourmaline
always calm
protection.
me. Yeah, I'm wearing black tourmaline today. And my mood changes, and whatever my mood is, I put that bracelet on for the day, and then it helps me. But that is also manifestation. I'm manifesting what that crystal is going to do for me today. You're manifesting about your readings. So I had told Jeannie a while back, well, I would go home and say, am I this really good guesser? Because I just said this lady's whole family's names, places, dates, situations, and everything. I'm talking about private stuff.
Yeah.
And since I don't know what I'm doing, and it's a fact that I don't know what I'm doing, I often wonder how does this come about? How do I do this? Like there's psychics out there, right? That, oh yeah, I know how I do what I do. It's this, it's my guides. Okay, I don't even know if I have a freaking guide. Okay, if I have a guide, hey dude, do that, whatever you are, tell me who you are. I would like to know that. And people are saying, oh, your guides are my guides are telling me that you need to move. Now, why would my guides tell the person across from me that they need to move? Why wouldn't their guides tell me to tell them? Because their guides are their family or their friends or somebody, whatever it is. They would know them better than my guides, if I had any, would know. That's my opinion anyway. So they, through the law of attraction, what we're getting to, is the power of suggestion. I will do a reading to somebody and it will make sense. I have had people come back from their reading and tell me, I did everything that you said on this paper and my life is so much better. Had they wrote down on that piece of paper themselves all the things they wanted to do and followed that.
That same thing happened, but I told a girl, I'll never forget, her and her mom came in, and I had her write down because she was looking for somebody, like her significant other. And I had her do that same thing that I experienced with Jordan, and I had her go through that, and she actually listened. Like when she actually did it and took that suggestion, right? I remember them coming in, I think it was like 6 months later, and she was like, "You'll never believe it."
It happens.
Yeah.
I told one lady that she was going to move. She kind of chuckled at me and everything. And I said, but not only are you going to move, but you're going to have this long winding driveway. There's going to be a lake on the left-hand side. And it's going to be this really big house. She said, I just moved. I am never moving again. I said, I don't really care what you say. Everybody knows my personality. That's what I say. I said, I don't care what you say because I know that this is going to be right. It's going to be right. It's going to happen. Do you know, a year later, she even sent me a picture of where she lives, of the long winding driveway with the lake on the left-hand side and that long winding driveway to the house where she met. And she said that she could not believe that she actually moved. Now, did I put the thought into her head and she manifested that move? So I often think, am I
Are you the one
putting the
manifesting?
power of suggestion into this lady's head?
Right.
And she did it. I don't know. Did I do that? Did I put the power of suggestion into her head?
Right.
Did she take it and run with it? Was she gifted enough to be able to manifest it herself of what I
Right.
said? I mean, it's a possibility. I don't know. But when I teach the law of attraction, that's kind of the avenue I go down. What do you want? What do you want out of life? What is your purpose? What do you want your purpose to be? Where are you now? What do you think is a negative? I try to retrain your brain into a positive.
What are you not doing that you should be doing in order to align with that dream?
Right. And most people are not living their life. Most people are just living. So when I read in front of somebody here, I'll say, I just see you living. I don't see you living. And there's two different ways of doing that. You can be complacent and just living your life. Or you can be like Jeannie says, before you put your foot on the floor, thank God that you woke up. That's what she tells me. Before you put both feet on the floor, thank God you woke up. And that's manifesting an amazing day. You can't put your feet on the floor and say, oh shit, it's another day.
I knew that
Gotta
I
go to
pray
work.
every single morning, and I'm telling you that I get on my hands and knees every night, and I get on my hands and knees every morning and pray. And when I don't, I notice a difference. There's a big difference.
It's funny because, well, truth be told, I take Unisom when I go to sleep. So I lay in bed as the Unisom is taking effect, and I start my prayers. And my prayers are pretty long because I'm old. Okay, so there's a lot of dead people I need to like pray about too. So I pray for the living first, and then I pray for the people who have passed afterwards. When I wake up in the morning, I have usually fallen asleep before I covered everybody.
Yeah.
Always. But it's my way because when we go to bed as well, we tell that information box.
Is your dad over there?
No. So I'll call it Alex, but everybody will understand what I'm talking about when they have it in our house, and you can ask them.
You mean Alexa?
Wait, shut up. See, she listened. Okay, so I will say play thunderstorm sounds, and we put it at full blast, and that's what we fall asleep to. Thunderstorm sounds. We live on the ocean, but we go to sleep in thunderstorm sounds. Because the ocean, if we open up our sliders, the ocean is way too loud to fall asleep to. But my dog is even used to listening to thunderstorm sounds, which is actually cool. So we kind of manifest that zenness.
Thunderstorms?
Well, the zenness of nature.
Yeah.
Okay, so what started? The refrigerator is not working.
Well, the small refrigerator does.
The small though, yeah, but it can't make up that noise. Do you have a pacemaker or something?
No. Do you?
No, at my age I should. All right, so we need to go.
Right.
Everybody have a great day. If you have any questions, you can comment below on this, and we will go from there, okay? We will talk to you guys soon. Have a blessed day.
Bye.